All right, you guys, a happy rare Friday. This feels like it's going to be a special episode because we don't normally do Fridays. And since we were off on Monday, because I got hit with jet lag pretty badly, we figured that we'd give you a late evening episode. I had a very, very long press day today, so pardon me for running a bit behind schedule. But I'm glad we opted to do this Friday show because boy, oh boy, did a lot escalate yesterday evening over on X. I mean, Tucker did this interview with Mario Nawfal, and it's got me really wondering about Butler. Butler, was it staged? I think that's now a very fair question to ask. Did you guys think it was suspected any moment that it was staged? I certainly didn't. It was definitely something that I was reticent to even consider before. And if it was staged, by whom exactly? On that note, we received a very bizarre response regarding our FOIA request to SAM 702. That's that Fort Huachuca plane that was carrying one person that we can identify, Bradley Hansel, the Undersecretary of War, just under Pete Hegseth. So let's just jump right back in. Welcome back to Candace. All right, I'm just kind of taking this informal poll here in the chat, and a lot of people are saying yes, staged, yes, say staged, absolutely staged. But a lot of people also saying, I didn't think it was staged when it happened. And that's where I was. I don't know. I was totally captivated by it. I was saddened by it. I wanted Trump to win because of this assassination attempt. And I don't know where I sit right now, given this conversation that was started by Tucker Carlson yesterday. So let's just right at the top here show you the clip that went absolutely viral yesterday over on X. Tucker was joined by Mario Nawfal, and here is what he had to say regarding the first assassination attempt. I can't believe I'm saying the first assassination attempt of President Trump, which took place in Butler, Pennsylvania. Take a listen.
About Butler, I know that Trump shut down the investigation into Butler. That is a fact. Dan Bongino told me that when he worked at the FBI. And Dan Bongino himself was terrified when I spoke to him in December. It's such a long, boring story, but basically I came into possession, I beg your pardon, accidentally came into possession of a lot of the social media posts that we were told didn't exist that were posted by Thomas Crooks in the months and years before the shooting. And I was amazed that the FBI had lied about this. So I called Kash Patel, and I later called Dan Bongino, and I says, what is this? I'm not attacking you. It was the previous FBI administration that did this. It was Chris Wray, but what is this? And Dan Bongino became hysterical with me on the phone. I've known Dan a long time, for many years, and always gotten along with him. Whatever his faults, nice guy, nice, certainly very nice to me. I never had a problem with Dan ever. And that problem began when I brought this information to his attention, and he became a different person. He was clearly terrified. I didn't get it at first, but he was hysterical. And ultimately, after a long series of text exchanges, which I still have, and phone conversations, he said, look, take it up with Trump. He's the one who shut down the investigation. And that was, I think, the first or second week of December. I think it was the beginning of the second week of December. I have it written down. But that was the moment, and I realized, oh, wow, there's no good explanation for shutting down an investigation into your own attempted murder. Like, this is not what we've been told it was.
Okay, so a lot to unpack there. The first thing I thought when I saw this was, wait, what? Trump was the person who shuts down the investigation into his own assassination attempt. What does that mean? And then I saw Dan Bongino's response. So just to recap what we just heard there, Tucker says he reached out to Dan Bongino because they had been friends for a long time. He reached out to Kash Patel because he was working on a story. That story was that the people, what was communicated to us was that this Matt Crooks character, Matthew Crooks, had absolutely no, or Thomas Crooks, Matthew Thomas Crooks, or Thomas Matthew Crooks, had absolutely no social media history. And it turned out that he had a very long, extensive social media history, and the FBI was aware of this. So he reaches out and he says, look, you guys weren't involved, but what is this? Why are we being lied to? You guys are certainly in power now. And he says that Dan Bongino grew hysterical. And he says that Dan Bongino was terrified. My understanding, and I think any rational person's understanding of what he means, is that this story, the Butler story, perhaps the Butler cover-up, whatever it is, terrified Dan Bongino and terrified Kash Patel. Totally believable just looking at Kash Patel. He constantly looks like he is in a state of terror. And this is how Dan Bongino chose to respond to Tucker saying that Dan was terrified. Take a listen.
This is not a pretend tough guy act. I'm a 51-year-old man with decaying joints. I don't plan on fighting anyone in the UFC. There's no violence is never the answer to anything. I'm not interested in any of that. But I'm going to tell you straight, if you think I was terrified of Carlson, then I'm really sorry. Like, you need to take yourselves a Xanax and go find a doctor, right? Like, that's, of all the things, like, that's the most hilarious. However, accusing me and the president of a federal crime, obstructing justice, bizarrely, the president involved in covering up the investigation into his own attempted murder, is seriously one of the most delusional things I've ever seen. And the reason I'm really starting to believe, and I mean this sincerely, that Tucker's just dumb I don't have any, is he doesn't realize, like, I have these texts too.
Well, quite a time to call Tucker dumb when you completely misunderstood the context of what he meant when he said you were terrified. Dan, I don't think Tucker wants to fight you. Tucker wears boat shoes. He gives me Martha Vineyard vibes. He's definitely wasn't saying he wanted to fight you. He's saying something scared you and something that you saw scared you. Let's cool it with the aggressive nature of wanting to beat up Tucker Carlson. Like, doesn't make you sound top 51. Oh, beat him up. Okay. Then on top of that, he completely misunderstands everything Tucker said. Tucker was very clear that he spoke with Dan in December. And Dan thinks that he has a haha gotcha. I'm going to prove that Tucker is stupid by showing an article that was published before him and Tucker spoke. He shows an article from November, which is completely irrelevant to everything that Tucker just said. Take a listen.
He says that the president shut down the Butler investigation. Totally, completely, 100% made up. But we did a full interview with Brooke Singman from Fox, which, to all the people who, by the way, think Tucker's for real, if you think I'm doctoring any of this, please go look this article up yourself. Don't trust me, trust the evidence. Here it was, November 21st, even before Tucker says he spoke to me in December. Exclusive. FBI concludes Trump shooter Crooks acted alone after unprecedented global investigation. Now, he says the investigation was shut down. Yet here it is on the record in November. Again, the Tucker fans will apologize for him until the end of time because they just can't give up the Kool-Aid. Let me read this to you in case you're a Tucker fan who can't read. The case, that's the Crooks case he says was shut down, currently sits in a pending inactive status. Wait, keep this up. Andy, does that say the case is closed? Andy's shaking his head. Jasmine, does that say that? It does not. No. It says the opposite. This is before Tucker claims he talked to me.
Yeah.
But the official, this is one of the investigators, called the investigation one of the largest mobilizations of FBI resources in history that continued to this day.
But yeah, Dan, keep this up, we can come out of this. Dan, it's because Tucker spoke to you after that. So if the investigation was open before he spoke to Tucker and Tucker says he spoke to you in December, everything you're saying doesn't make sense. But beyond that, his whole face, his demeanor, he's lying. I mean, Dan Bongino is just lying. That's how I'm reading him. He's not making any sense. He wants to fight. It's aggressive. And Tucker made a statement that he had multiple conversations with him. Dan appeared terrified. Tucker said it was both on the phone and via text. And he conveyed to him that it was the president who didn't want information to come out. And then Dan proves Tucker's point by showing a text message in which Dan instructs to Tucker that if you want more information about Butler, then you need to ask Trump to tell us to release it. Meaning that there was more information about Butler that Trump did not want released. Take a listen to Dan Bongino pull the Paramount not so tactical. Take a listen.
Here's the other text where I actually go on to further make the case. Next, to him. He said, I hoped you had the chance, Tucker said, to see the piece on Crooks. We received some information and are planning a detailed follow-up. Is there someone I can talk to at the FBI before we do? Thanks. I said, I saw it. And that you seem to believe that Cash and I, who are longtime personal friends with the president, are involved in some sinister cover-up is absurd. I thought he said we were covering it up. Yet in my text, leave this up, guys, I'm saying the exact opposite, Justin, am I not? It's almost like he's bullshitting you again. Is the president in on it too, I asked? He's one of the victims. He's told us repeatedly, as he said publicly, he's satisfied with the effort Cash and I put in. The president's a victim in a federal crime. And when he's ready for us to release more information about this crime, then he'll tell us. I suggest you give him a ring and tell him you want more. Let me know what he says. He's a member of the media. People call him all the time.
Okay, so if the president could be called and could be told to instruct you to release more information, then there's more information that the president is aware has not been released to the public. That's everything Tucker just said. And you don't realize that you're confirming his report by accident. Now, I am now of the position that something is very wrong with Butler. And whatever it is that is wrong with Butler, it may go a very long way in terms of explaining what is wrong with Trump, what went wrong with Trump, because we have two options here, okay? If you almost get assassinated and you do not fire the Secret Service agents that failed to protect you on that day, they moved you off the stage, but certainly failed to protect you on that day, and see somebody on the rooftop. And then beyond that, you determine that you are satisfied with the investigation and you allow lies to come out about the investigation, or lies to remain about the investigation, saying that the person who allegedly fired the shots had no social media background. And then you withhold information from the public. We only have two options to consider. The first thing is that the entire thing was staged and Trump was involved. Trump knew it was going to happen, and he allowed the entire assassination attempt to take place, thereby thrusting him into this category where all of us went, oh, there must have been a reason that God saved him. I'm not inclined to believe that option, okay? The second option is that it was a real assassination attempt. It actually had nothing to do with the person that it was blamed on. And Trump did escape with his life, and it was a warning. Do not ever do, well, whatever it is, like a gangster sort of warning. And I am inclined to believe that that is what happened. This would completely transform Trump. It would make him obey. It's like a gangster. Basically, you take money from a gangster, you take hundreds of millions of dollars from a gangster, they fire a warning shot, maybe because, you willy-nilly said in front of Charlie Kirk and Andrew Colvett that you were going to take somebody's money and then F them over, not knowing that information got back to some people. And you escaped with your life, and after that, you just did whatever these people said. I'm just thinking here because I believe Tucker is telling the truth. And Dan's entire face and demeanor and panic and yelling and threatening to fight signals to me that Tucker is telling the truth, that Tucker told him on the phone that it was Trump himself that shut down this investigation. Okay? That is what is being reflected to me in the worst poker face that I've ever seen in Dan Bongino. He can't even think rationally. He's just angry and wants to fight because he's been exposed. Okay? If that version of events is true, if Trump survived an assassination attempt, and then the gangsters came to him and said, you do whatever we say now, well, that could bring us to a sort of logical explanation as to Trump's behavior thereafter, because I believe that Trump betrayed Charlie Kirk by a similar lack of investigation into who killed Charlie Kirk. He betrayed himself and he betrayed Charlie Kirk. And if the same people were involved in both, which I think there is an indication, I think many of us suspect that the same people could be involved in both, then you could see how easily that might keep Trump in line, because I think Trump is very vain. And even though he is old, he is not trying to be a hero. And his option is, we'll keep you alive and we'll make you so rich and your family so rich, and you'll have land and you'll have your name on buildings forever. Trump's taking that option, right? He would rather take, I'll be alive for a couple of more years and very wealthy, rather than to sacrifice his life doing the right thing. Him and Charlie had different character. Which brings us to a rather explosive piece that was published in the New York Times yesterday. This was also trending. This is inside the White House freakout over the Epstein files. Now, I am not a normal consumer of the New York Times, obviously. I don't really read much of the media anymore because of how many lies have been told. But this piece, it was very obvious that it was well sourced. And I'll get into my opinion, which is that Dan Bongino was one of the sources, and I'll tell you why I think that in a bit. But revealed in this piece was a relevant portion about Charlie Kirk. In summation, it's about how Trump really did not want the Epstein files to be investigated. Now, there are two takes on this. Some people think that it is because he is in them. I don't doubt that Trump had some sort of a business relationship with Epstein. It makes perfect sense to me when you understand Epstein's business model, right? What did Epstein do? He was involved in a trafficking ring. He trafficked weapons. He trafficked people. He did it on behalf of the state of Israel. We have another Israel theme. Charlie Kirk, I'm turning away from Israel. Donald Trump, I'm going to screw over Miriam Adelson. Shortly thereafter, an assassination attempt happens. Okay. And now we have Trump in a full panic at the White House over the Epstein files and him having to do anything to shut down that investigation. So we learn that just in the midst of Charlie's SAS, the Student Action Summit, where we have been telling you over and over again, according to our timeline, it seems to us that after Tucker took the stage at SAS, Tucker Carlson took the stage at SAS, instructions went out to kill Charlie Kirk. That's just what the timeline tells us. Like, if we're just looking at it like a story, things got weird after Tucker hit the stage. We have said this from the very beginning since we mapped out this timeline. Well, it turns out Tucker spoke on July 11th, and on July 12th, Charlie received a phone call from the president. Here's what the New York Times article tells us. It reads, quote, on July 12th, the president took to Truth Social to defend Pam Bondi against criticism and to urge his boys and gals to stop wasting time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. Trump told aides that he was very unhappy with some of his most influential supporters, including Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, and Megyn Kelly, all of whom were publicly urging the administration to come clean. Kirk had held a Turning Point USA event the previous day that turned into an Epstein grievance fest, with one speaker after another bashing Bondi over her handling of the situation. Trump had called Kirk and scolded him. Okay. Couple of things happening here. Why would Donald Trump, the president of the United States, call Charlie Kirk to scold him because people on stage are calling out a child rapist? Make it make sense. I'm open to other ideas. I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist. Make that make sense. There was mass panic. We have covered this. Charlie lost millions and millions of dollars on stage from his pro-Israel donors over Tucker calling out Epstein. Megyn Kelly talked about Epstein. So this is perfectly tracking with what we know went down. And Charlie held the line. By and large, Charlie held the line. They wanted him to cancel Tucker. They were angry that, in particular, that Tucker Carlson had asked where Bill Ackman's money comes from. It's kind of like one of those Epstein-esque questions where it's like, these people get really rich. When you start looking into it, it doesn't really make sense where their money is coming from. There was mass Zionist panic. Again, we have the theme of Israel. So let's plot that on our timeline, because I remembered something that's bothering me, okay? July 11th to July 13th, 2025, we know that that's the Student Action Summit, Turning Point USA Student Action Summit in Tampa Bay, Florida. Charlie's first speech is at 4 p.m. on Friday. His last speech concludes at 1:10 p.m. on Sunday. Okay. July 11th is the day that Tucker Carlson delivered that speech. Charlie tells him to go max. Despite the fact that donors are freaking out, he tells him to go max. Okay. He calls out Jeffrey Epstein. He says that the people who serve in foreign armies should be stripped of their citizenship, and he muses about where Bill Ackman's wealth comes from. On July 12th, according to the New York Times, President Trump calls Charlie Kirk angrily, and he scolds him about SAS, calling it an Epstein grievance fest. What does this have to do with you, Trump? What does that have to do with you? Who is telling you to call Charlie and scold him? Now, there's only two options. One, the gangsters that you took money from are telling you to call Charlie and put an end to it because Epstein worked for Israel. Or two, you're in the Epstein files. There's no in between. You don't just call someone to scold them about bringing up being aggrieved by a child rapist. Everyone should be aggrieved by a person who harms children. If you're not, we're not on the same team. Okay? This July 14th date, Erica travels aboard a private flight to Long Beach, California. She's got Catherine Locastro. It's a young woman who works Turning Point USA, was at one point Mikey McCoy's assistant. Derek Nakirk, who's a bodyguard. Jonathan Barcelo, who is a Marine. And she speaks at James Caddis's Calvary Chapel Church. Now, James Caddis is that icky guy who is Egyptian and runs Turning Point USA Faith. We need to look into James Caddis. I've received so many emails about him, radically pro-Israel. She speaks at their Women's Summer of Psalm retreat. And there was something bothering me about this speech. Forever, I just keep being like, this speech is really weird, because she says in the speech that this was her Sunday church. Okay, we know Erica bounces. Sometimes she's Catholic, sometimes she's Jewish, sometimes she's Judeo-Christian, and this day she was Calvary Chapel. Okay. But it was bizarre to me because when James Caddis tees up the speech, he goes on about like pro-Israel. And I was like, there's something really bothering me about this on the timeline. The first and foremost, I realized Erica didn't show up to SAS, which was unusual. Then she gets on a plane. She knows her husband is being aggrieved. She knows her husband is under pressure from Israel. She knows her husband is losing millions from Israel. And yet she gets on stage, she gets this pro-Israel intro from James Caddis, and then talks about, how there's always war in Israel because Israel is great or whatever, and says that this speech is sort of a call to arms, and she's putting it in the context of women and dating and whatever. I'll let you take a little listen to this portion of her speech.
And interestingly enough, in the history of Israel, as many of you guys know, because I know you guys go to a biblically based church, so you understand this, that the record of Israel is that there is constant invasion and warfare in the promised land. Because of this, the land rarely has a chance to flourish uninterrupted. And every so often when a king rises up, they unify their people, they fend off the enemies, and for a brief moment, the people can finally enjoy peace. And it's not the peace that their military brings. It's the only type of peace that God can grant, true peace, where there's lasting prosperity and the people can flourish. And so the theme of Psalm 144 is this: praise and prayer to God because of who he is, not just what he gives. So again, this psalm it's a battle song. It's a call to arms, but it's also a call to trust, and it's a call to worship, and it's a call to prepare.
Okay. Call to arms, call to worship, call to trust, call to understand that there's conflict in Israel at all times. And this is like, post-genocide, so I don't love that. But there was still something that was gnawing at me beyond the fact that, like I said, James Caddis is this like Egyptian pastor that's like radically pro-Israel that she does a lot of work with. And he's very involved in Turning Point USA. This is literally his PragerU video. I'm an Egyptian pastor who supports Israel. And finally, it dawned on me. Okay. I'm going to explain it to you. Next up on our timeline. So she gives this speech, irrespective of what her husband's literally going through at this exact same time. Donors pulling out, yelling at him as soon as he gets off stage. He's telling Tucker to go Max. Anyways, the president of the United States is calling him. This is his wife. She knows this is all going on. Okay. If anybody's beefing with my husband, I'm the enemy. Like I'm like with my husband 100%. There's no halfway with that. I'm not going to say something cute to you. I'm going to be like off the Israel train immediately. Right after this, on July 18th, that's when the request goes in for UVU. We still don't know who submitted that request. I told you it has literally never happened that you instantly get a spot, the first spot of a semester tour. There's such a long waiting list to have Charlie go speak at their schools, but they suddenly made one. It's this July 20th thing that it suddenly dawned on me. What was bothering me about Erica being introduced pro-Israel and being pro-Israel on stage in the midst of everything Charlie was going through. July 20th-ish, Charlie vacationed in Maine for a couple of weeks. Okay, so let's just say from July 20th to July 30th, he went off radar. And this is when Mikey McCoy and Elizabeth McCoy joined them for the first time on vacation. And they capture all of these images that we're then going to see as soon as Charlie's assassinated, these images of him walking with Erica, like, just kind of, oh, this is a happy couple. And then right after, in the midst of this, the same 2 weeks, YRefi comes in as the #1 sponsor for Charlie Kirk's fall tour. This is a total Israel-coded company. And It was weird because they had already signed a contract from January through December for all of their events, but now they doubled down. What catalyzed that like sudden addendum to their contract? Like, yes, we want more. We're going to come in for this speaking tour that you're now going to do. And the first one's going to be at UVU, and me, the CEO, is going to travel with you at this event. Okay, that seems a bit weird. And then it dawned on me, I totally forgot something. Okay. And I'm just going to have to ask Tucker for forgiveness for sharing this, because I knew that there was something bothering me about this Maine vacation. I had a baby, and I think I blacked out after Charlie's assassination and didn't remember that I went up to Maine too. I went up to Maine with my husband in July. Okay. My son was born on May 1st. We were off air. And then the first thing I did was I went with my newborn, Roman, and my husband up to Maine to do Tucker's show. And I did an interview, and I genuinely forgot about this. Like I genuinely forgot about this. And we went in on the topic of Israel. I'm just going to show you a little 10-second clip here so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about.
Since the 80s, Jeffrey Epstein has been working for Israel. I don't know how I know that, and Trump and Pam Bondi don't, but they got to bring me in. Like, I might have some evidence here, right? It's like, so we're getting to a point now.
You're going to have tough confirmation hearings.
I just want them to say F you. Like, seriously, that would feel better at this point if they just came out and said, F you, na boo boo, you can't touch us, we rule over you, ha ha. That would feel at least authentic. Going back to the Taylor Lorenz thing, I'd be like, I really don't like that, but at least it's authentic, and I know you mean it, and it's true.
All totally fair.
Yeah.
Does any of, to the extent that we can project forward and guess, does any of this come out? To a greater extent than it has? Is there ever like a public resolution of this story?
No, because Israel's controlling our government. So no, the answer is no. Trump is powerless against him. I don't think we've been a sovereign nation since they shot JFK. And when I say they, it's like people online say, what do you mean by they? I'm talking about Israel. I don't want you guys to read in between. I'm talking about Israel. So let's stop making that a taboo subject, because they've gone mask down. Everything they're doing is demonic. I want nothing to do with it. I will never support Israel into the future after what they've done to these children. The starvation campaign. I don't care.
I promise you, I forgot that. I forgot that I had this. I forgot that I went up to Maine until I was looking at this Erica speech. And I was like, I know what is bothering me about this speech. What's bothering me about this speech is that when I got off air with Tucker, obviously you just have chatter, just chatter in the air, about everything you just discussed and what's happening and everything we said there. We're talking about Epstein. And Tucker said to me, and I'm obviously, I'm not going to get this verbatim, but he was like, yeah, he talked about a SAS speech, and he just said they're taking money from Charlie because of this whole speech. And I was like, yeah, Charlie's kind of coming over to our side. He's really had an awakening about this. It's crazy that I forgot this, but it's the second part of what he said to me. He said, I just had dinner with him and Erica. They were just here. I think he said last night. I kid you not. They were just there in Maine having dinner with Tucker. I remember this. I am 1000% certain. Days within me, it was like Charlie was there and then I was there. And he had dinner with Erica, and he said something, which is the reason why I was happy when they announced that Erica was going to be CEO, because before we could have ever known that Charlie was going to be assassinated, as we were sitting here in Maine talking about Israel and Epstein and what the pressure that Charlie was under, Tucker was like, I absolutely love Erica. He said this publicly 1,000 times, so I'm not revealing anything here. And he was like, she is hardcore on the anti-Israel train. And that she had gone in on dinner about everything, and that, this is who Erica was. And I was like, oh, wow. I actually never got to spend that kind of time with her. I know Charlie's coming to the other side, but I never really speak to Erica like that. And they had this dinner in the midst of all of this SAS stuff. And I happened to be in Maine. And when I look at that and I plot that on the timeline, it convinces me that Erica is a psychopath. Genuinely convinces me that Erica's a psychopath, because, and please, Tucker, forgive me, I had to share that. I know you like her. I know you're a fan of Erica. I know we have different opinions and different perspectives, but this doesn't make sense. This does not make sense that Erica gets on stage and is pro-Israel, blinks and is at dinner and is anti-Israel, more anti-Israel than Tucker. Than Charlie, as we're talking about all this Epstein stuff and Charlie's under pressure. And then as soon as Charlie passes away, she's up on stage with Barry Weiss saying anybody that doesn't support Israel has brain rot. That's a psychopath. That is somebody who can be someone else in every room. And we have told this story over and over again about Erica. She literally just commutes her entire personality depending on who she's in front of. Like there is no personality. It's who is the audience. I'm a Catholic if I'm in the back of a church and I'm with this donor who's got a lot of money and Stacey taps on their shoulder and I share how Charlie was about to become Catholic. And then the woman, as I shared with you guys, gets on a plane, brings back a relic of Saint Michael because Erica's so hardcore Catholic. And then she blinks and she instructs Andrew Kolvetz to deny what I said about Charlie in the Catholic Church. Like literally the next week, she okays Alex Clark coming out and saying I'm a liar. Erica's a psychopath. This is like, it just dawned on me. She was playing this game while Charlie was alive. And if I didn't do this timeline, if I didn't remember that I was in Maine having this casual conversation when everybody was friends and Charlie was alive and Charlie was under a lot of pressure, I probably would not have reflected on this little tidbit that proves that Erica's a psychopath. She wasn't a grieving widow in August and July, okay? She wasn't a grieving widow. She was a manipulative psychopath who puts on a different outfit, a different costume, depending on what play she has to put on, okay? That's just like an established fact that Erica she has demonstrated over and over again the attributes of a psychopath. I'm with Tucker, I'm anti-Israel. I'm with Barry Weiss. People who don't support Israel have brain rot. I'm with an Egyptian pastor. I love Israel. There's conflict here because of a call to arms. That's not normal. How weird if you had learned that after doing this podcast, I was just yucking it up with Ben Shapiro, talking about how much I love his yarmulke growing. You'd be like, that's weird. And I was like, oh gosh, these like terrible Palestinians, they don't have a right to any land. Who are they? They don't even exist. Palestine doesn't exist. That would register to you that I was a psychopath because it's hard to do that. It's hard to perform in front of people. I don't understand genuinely how Tucker can like her. I don't. And maybe it's because he is usually off on a boat fishing, doesn't watch or a lot of podcasts. Highly doubt that he is watching the timeline and the conflicting Ericas. She doesn't have time. She's a graduated school. She's not graduated school. Everything she says is in conflict with the thing that she said yesterday because there is no personality. Elizabeth Lane clocked her correctly. She is whatever she needs to be on her way to empowerment. She was not a grieving widow. So I'm going to have to politely request that you already shut up in trying to defend why it would be that she was being two different people within 1 week when she should have just been anti because of how her husband was being treated behind the scenes. Okay? Just got to get that off my chest. What follows that is August 5th to 6th, the Hamptons retreat. I mean, this timeline's crazy to look at to me now. Crazy. Hamptons retreat intervention, the influencer sponsored by Bill Ackman, who just was mentioned on stage about the Epstein stuff, not about the Epstein stuff, pardon me, but in relation to him asking questions, Tucker asking questions about Israel and where certain money's coming from. He brings up Bill Ackman, his wealth. This also caused panic on the back end. This is Charlie's summit that Charlie himself described as an intervention that Erica was present at, but she would allow people to lie. Bibi calls him, offers to take Turning Point to the next level in exchange for what? We still don't know, but Charlie declines. Charlie says no to Bibi. Trump, I believe, said yes. Trump said yes. Charlie said no. My opinion, I'm sticking to it, especially after reading that Epstein piece, especially after what Tucker has revealed about Butler. This is all Israel coded. It makes sense. It is in our face. The puzzle has been coming together forever. It's the very first thing they lied about was to protect Israel. No one would have cared if his opinion was shifting on Israel because it could just be, that's allowed. But all the lies that were told about it, yeah, that means it's a clue. Then August 15th, Erica goes to the Aspen investor retreat, but she doesn't actually go to the meeting, even though she's, I guess, going to be CEO or whatever. And Charlie just appoints Erica a couple of weeks before he dies, changing his mind on everything he's ever said, every position he's ever held about women. That's not right. Okay. That timeline is not right. We're already at 36 minutes. And I haven't even gotten to telling you about the FOIA response. Dom, let's take a quick break here. We'll go to ads and then we'll come back and discuss Bradley Hansel and this bizarre response that we got back. We'll be right back. All right, you guys, right now there is a new generation of mothers and fathers that are rising up, parents who want to be there for their children, build strong families, and create a future that's filled with compassion, courage, and love. But for many expectant parents, that positive pregnancy test can initially feel completely overwhelming. They're asking themselves, can we do this? Are we ready? What will our future look like? That's where my friends at Preborn step in. Through Preborn Network clinics, expectant parents receive a free ultrasound, compassionate care, parenting resources, and a conversation about the hope that's found in Jesus Christ. And when a mother and father see their baby on that ultrasound screen for the very first time, everything can change. Fear gives way to connection, uncertainty turns into hope, and suddenly a future filled with life feels very possible. That's why your support of Preborn matters so much. For just $28, Preborn can provide one free ultrasound and help equip a new generation of parents to choose life and build strong families. Donate, simply dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or visit preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. I also want to tell you guys about Dose, because most of what you hear in the wellness industry is just noise, quick fixes, empty promises, and miracle supplements. I'm not about that at all. I believe in products that are actually backed by research. Your liver is at the center of everything: your energy levels, digestion, metabolism, and that's why I take Dose for your liver. Dose is a highly absorbable liquid supplement taken in a daily 2-ounce shot that tastes like fresh orange juice. It's a plant-forward formula that's clinically backed to promote liver function and cleanse the liver of unwanted stressors that may be slowing it down. Your liver is your body's daily filter. It processes everything that you consume and performs 500 plus daily functions. Think energy production, digestion, fat metabolism, and vitamin storage. Your liver is key in making these processes happen every day, and when it's overworked, you definitely feel it. People who take Dose consistently report less sluggishness, less midday crashes, better digestion, and even less bloating. New customers can save 35% on their first month's subscription by going to dosedaily.co/Candace or by entering code Candace at checkout. Again, that's dosedaily.co/Candace for 35% off your first month subscription. And you guys know that I love Cozy Earth, because you know how hard it can be to get a Father's Day gift that feels thoughtful, useful, and something that he's actually going to love. Well, as a mom, I'm always looking for something that feels a little special, and this year I found it with Cozy Earth. If your husband is anything like mine, summer basically means living in a rotation of a few favorite outfits. That's why I love Cozy Earth's men's polos and their everyday pants. The polos are incredibly soft, breathable, and polished enough for date night, while the everyday pants are comfortable enough for weekends but still look put together. They're the kind of pieces that you reach for again and again. And the best part is Cozy Earth stands behind everything they make: a 100-night sleep trial on the sheets, a lifetime warranty on the clothing, and hassle-free returns if anything is not right. Summer should feel easy for everyone in the house. Cozy Earth's bamboo sheet set, everywhere pants, and their everyday polo are designed to keep you cool, comfortable, and actually relaxed all summer long. So head to CozyEarth.com and use my code Candace for an exclusive 20% off. Again, that's code Candace for an exclusive 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, mention that you heard about Cozy Earth right here. I see Marcia in the comments here. She says, Erica is not a psychopath. She is a sociopath. I strongly push back on that, because a sociopath is able to relate to people socially, okay? They wouldn't have made the same mistakes that Erica has made. And this is why her press has been a disaster, because just as Elizabeth Lane spelled out when she wrote that really long tweet about what makes people uncomfortable, is that she doesn't know, her face doesn't know how to match the expressions, the feelings that she's having. She doesn't know how to behave normally. A sociopath can do that. They can like, you know, emulates humanity. They would know, like, maybe 6 days after your husband gets shot in the neck, you shouldn't be able to jump on a Zoom call. You don't have to have guidance or PR to tell you that that's not normal. Beyond that, she was in the office immediately. Within 2 days, Erica was back in the office, walking around, bringing her kids there. That's a psychopath. To be able to just like float between emotions, but also to not understand human emotions. In every room, Erica is someone different. The ability to lie to my face in the way that she lied to my face about saying that Andrew Colvett went rogue. Me discovering this like random conversation that I had with Tucker, remembering this random conversation, like genuinely my little sister, she told me, obviously what I was not eating, I was not sleeping after Charlie got killed. And then I was like almost tricking myself into believing that he might be alive, like genuinely going through every stage, including bargaining, and thinking he was actually being held somewhere and maybe in like protection because Trump would not let this happen, whatever. And my sister said to me, she's like, when you experience something like this, you know, somebody that you know, someone that you're close to dying in the way that they died, like it damages your brain. Like you're not even, I can't remember certain things that happened right after. And I totally forgot that I went to Maine. Like I have been doing this timeline forever. I've been wondering, like trying to figure out like, oh, when were they in Maine? When they were in Maine? And then suddenly it dawned on me, Candace, you were in Maine. You were in Maine and you just like, I promise you, Tucker must have said, I just had dinner like the night before with Charlie and Erica or 2 nights before with Charlie and Erica. Like I just came in. I might have even like texted Charlie to see if he was still in Maine. I have to check. And it just dawned on me that that's what is weird. Erica was anti-Israel. And that is the reason why I was relieved because I instantly thought things were weird and that other people were involved in his assassination, didn't think his wife. But I was like, great, at least Erica will be skeptical of these people. And this girl was like, hey, Barry Weiss. Hey, Ben, you want to open at AmFest? We're going big. We're going into a deeper partnership with International Fellowship of Christian and Jews. The company, we blinked and the company turned into AIPAC under Erica's stewardship. And she was not under duress. She's not under duress. She's operating behind the scenes and calling all the shots. So I just need to express again that I truly believe she's a psychopath. I truly believe that the signs were there leading up to Charlie's assassination before she was a widow. Moving on to Bradley Hansel, okay? So just to remind you, he is Trump's appointed Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, one of the Pentagon's top intelligence officials responsible for overseeing defense intelligence and security matters all across the DoD, okay? We have been asking this question, what exactly was he doing at Fort Huachuca in September, just before Charlie's assassination? Now, Fort Huachuca is not just some Army base. It is a major hub for military intelligence. Cyber operations could make sense that he's there, obviously. Networks and intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. And we were able to determine that he was on this multi-leg trip that revolved around Fort Huachuca. It just raises a lot of questions about who he was meeting with, right? On these dates that we were interested in because of the meeting that Mitch Snow stumbled upon, which we have proved he stumbled upon a meeting. We cannot yet definitively state that he saw who he saw. He believes he saw Brian Harpole. We have not seen any evidence to the contrary, despite openly and kindly reaching out to Brian Harpole asking for that information. What we got was a lawsuit, okay? Anyways, this is Bradley Hansel's itinerary for you guys so that you guys tracking this can take a look and to see where he went. He went from Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. Obviously, that's right outside of D.C. And then he flew to Colorado Springs. Then he went from Colorado Springs and flew to Tucson, Arizona, the Air Force Base at Davis-Monthan. And then he flew from Tucson to Fort Huachuca on a most crucial date, September 8th. Okay. So this raises 2 obvious questions. Why the brief stop in Tucson when Fort Huachuca is just like 50 miles away from Tucson, by the way? Who did he pick up? That's a pickup, right? I would assume that's a pickup. Who did Bradley Hansel pick up to continue to Fort Huachuca on September 8th? The very next day, on the 9th, that's the day where that meeting allegedly concluded that Mitch Snow saw. That same plane then flies from Fort Huachuca to El Paso and arrives at 1:20 p.m. local, remains on the ground for 4 hours and 10 minutes, and then it returns back to Joint Base Andrews, just outside of D.C. Who did he drop off in Texas? That's another question. Right? These are registering to me like pick up and drop off. Maybe he's landing for a meeting. Who's in those meetings? Now, the timing of this makes Fort Huachuca stand out as the center of the trip. For one, because Bradley Hansel remained on the ground the longest there for 19 hours. That's the longest stop in his trip. He opted to stay overnight at Fort Huachuca before departing the next day for El Paso. He did a quick little 20-minute helicopter tour of the border on that morning as well, before he departed for El Paso. What was he doing there on the 8th? What was he doing there on the morning of the 9th? For comparison, when I say that was a very long stay there relative to the rest of his trip, in Tucson and El Paso, he was only on the ground for 4 hours. Okay, 4-hour ground stop, and then he's on for a very long time. He's at Fort Huachuca. Colorado Springs was the second longest overnight stop. That was 16 hours. Okay. Also, of course, September 8th is significant because it's the day that Mitch Snow is convinced that he saw Erica Kirk at Fort Huachuca leaving a hotel. Okay, well, what hotel did Bradley Hansel stay at on Fort Huachuca on the 8th? That's interesting. We'd like to know. So we decided to file an FOIA request for his travel logs. That's the beauty of everything being paid for by the tax dollars, is that we have this ability to file an FOIA request. Okay, who did he pick up? That's what we wanted to know. Who was on board with Bradley Hansel? And we got a very unusual response. Now, we have been filing a lot of these requests, like we're going to be experts by the end of this. And we've heard, hey, you need to make your request more specific, or hey, this department doesn't have your request. This is the first time that we've been told we're number 3,000 on a list and we're not going to be able to get back to you. We don't know when we're going to get back to you. Here's the exact language of the response that we received to figure out who was on this plane with Bradley Hansel from Tucson to Fort Huachuca. It reads, quote, although we have already begun processing your request, we will not be able to respond within the FOIA's 20-day statutory time period, as there are unusual circumstances which impact our ability to quickly process your request. The FOIA defines unusual circumstances as the need to search for and collect records from a facility that's geographically separated from this office, or B, the potential volume of the records responsive to your request. So A and B is not us. C, the need for consultation with one or more other agencies, or the Department of War components having a substantial interest in either the determination or the subject matter of the records. Okay, let's read that again, because that's going to be us, right? We're not asking for a lot. We're asking for a travel log. Who else is on this plane? So it's not too big. It's not because of the volume of records. It's not geographically separated from this office. He works for the Department of War, and the flight was booked from his office. I've confirmed that, okay? So we're at C of why they can't honor this in 20 days. This would be the logical option C. And I'm going to read it again. Because of the need for consultation with one or more other agencies, or the Department of War components having a substantial interest in either the determination or the subject matter of the records. At least one, if not more, of these scenarios apply, or would likely apply to your request. While this office does handle FOIA requests for the OSW, the JS, and other component offices, we do not actually hold their records. Okay, so they're going over the geographic thing. That's not us. We do not hold the record. They do hold these records. It's him. It says then that we are unable to estimate the potential volume of records. Okay, that's not us. Or this last one. Your request has been placed in our complex processing queue and is being worked on based on the order in which the request was received. Our current administrative workload is approximately 3,534 open requests. This is an FOIA FU. An FOIA FU. That's what it is. I didn't know we could file for that. We did. Apparently we received it. FOIA FU, Candace. Oh, really? Yeah. We have to talk to some other departments about your request, and that could take a while because they have an interest in why you want to know who was on Sam 702 and Bradley's plane. And that just means that we don't have to do the 20-day thing, which is like by law. But then there's this little carve out that says that if we have to communicate to other agencies, like maybe the FBI, Kash Patel, I don't know, Trump, the executive office, you're number 3,534 FOIA-FU, Candace. Weird. First time we've seen it. Guys, I'm happy to report that we are number 3,534th in line to never receive a request from the government about who was on that plane to Fort Huachuca. Absolutely stunning. Truly stunning. I can't believe we're at 51 minutes, guys. We're like not even gonna be able to cover everything else. Like we're like, it's already late today and my daughter has a little bit of a fever. So let's we'll do another ad break, and then I'm gonna get to some of your comments. We'll be right back. All right, you guys, for 250 years, the promise of America has been the freedom to build something on your own. And for millions of families, that dream begins with owning a home. But in a blink of an eye, that American dream can turn into a nightmare. With just some public information and a forged signature, criminals can legally transfer your home ownership into their name, and getting it back takes months, even years, thousands in legal fees just to reclaim what's already yours. That's why I trust the experts at Home Title Lock with 24/7 title monitoring, urgent alerts, and 100% fraud restoration success rate. They fight for property owners and their loved ones against this growing crime. And to celebrate America's 250th birthday, they're giving my viewers 25% off up to 2 years in title fraud protection, plus a free title history report to ensure that you are not already a victim. That's over $100 in savings and peace of mind. So use my promo code Candace25 at HomeTitleLock.com and get protected today. Again, that's HomeTitleLock.com, promo code Candace25, or simply use the link below. I also want to tell you guys about Zero Ghost, because right now the biggest AI data centers in history are being built, and they are powered by your personal data. Every place that you go, every search that you make, text, email, and app that you use can be tracked, collected, and stored by corporations, hackers, and even foreign governments. And no, private or incognito modes don't actually make you invisible online. As AI becomes more advanced, your personal information becomes even more valuable and more vulnerable. That's why I want to tell you guys about the Ghost Phone. The Ghost Phone is a real smartphone that's been redesigned for privacy from the ground up. It removes the tracking systems built into most modern phones, so there's no Google services constantly collecting your data, no hidden location tracking running in the background. You still get the apps and the features that you expect from a smartphone, but without handing over your information. This is the same privacy-focused technology trusted by investigative journalists, security professionals, and people who simply want more control over their digital lives. Because your smartphone is not just a phone anymore, for most people, it's a tracking device in your pocket. If protecting your privacy matters to you and your family, head to zeroghost.com/Candace and use code Candace at checkout for $50 off your order. Installment plans are also available at checkout. That's zeroghost.com/Candace with promo code Candace at checkout. Sorry, I was just asking something to my producer about a clip that we had pulled a while ago that of Erica at the end of the recent Leader Women's Summit event. It's I guess Women's Summit event. Yeah, no worries. Let me know if you can pull it. If not, no big deal. We can always just save it for Monday. But it just further illustrates my point about like her changing face of emotions. Like she doesn't know how to emote correctly, or why people find her to be strange, because she doesn't have any experience with these emotions. And that it just strikes me as so odd. I'm so bothered by that trip to Maine. And I'm bothered because there was no intent. It was just like people just talking about what was going on. Everybody's friends. Nothing against Erica. I was like, oh, amazing, whoa, whatever. And that was what was in the back of my head when I was at first relieved, because I was like, she will look into whether or not there was an Israel angle here. And we got the exact opposite thing. Anyway, I want to shout us out. I want to give a special shout out to my producer, Ashley, who worked really hard. I do want to clear up some rumors, though, because some people were alleging that it was a CVS receipt when we showed Larry Loomer's receipt. That is fake news. It's a conspiracy. That was a true Loomer receipt. We were happy to have Loomer here, and we're grateful that X picked up the trend and recognized that Larry Loomer was in office. Check this out. On X, Loomer confronts Owens on show over Kirk conspiracy theories. We were very happy to be joined by Larry Loomer. She appeared in person, X tells us, on show to debunk her theories, debunk my theories. It also says that Owens mocked Loomer's receipts with a clown emoji and a fake long receipt clip, while Loomer called it cringe. So that's just... It wasn't fake. It was real. We're just trying to keep track of all of Loomer's receipts because she kind of lets them go. And we had time. And so we really thank Larry Loomer for joining us. Top comment from yesterday's episode, by the way. Kaylee said, my day does not feel complete until I hear Candace hit us with the classic. All right, you guys. I don't know why I always say that. Just feels right. All right, you guys. Is it all right? I don't know, but it is when you're watching this show. This user writes, breaking news, Ivanka just told her dad that the Albanians are 2 weeks away from having a nuclear bomb. I bet they are. That sounds right to me. That seems like the next logical step of the story. Because, yeah, if you want the land, then they're probably working on a nuke. That'll help the narrative. I believe her. I believe Ivanka. She had the aura sound behind her. So, you know, I'm team Ivanka. Oh, great. My producers were able to pull the Erica clip. This is like the end of her speech when she got heckled and called a pedophile protector. A lot of emotions happening in her face. Anyway, take a listen.
Character, a fixed disposition that radiates through actions. Every choice made, for a good reason makes a good mark in your soul. Every choice made for a bad reason makes a bad mark in your soul. And one day, all of this, this life, every win, every
That makes
loss,
me so uncomfortable.
the criticism, the heartbreak, the joy, and the sorrow, it'll all be reduced to dust. But what you etched in your soul remains forever. So build a life that can survive eternity. Welcome to the Women's Leadership Summit. We're so grateful. God bless you all.
It's like a really bad daytime soap opera acting. Like, why was she shaking? No, one day, what etches in your soul will be forever in your soul. You will take it to dust. Welcome to the Women's Leadership Summit. That's weird. It's weird. It's not authentic. It's practice. It's rehearsed. It's not written by you. It's obvious. This is not how people speak. Just be normal. Stop shaking your head no while you're saying yes. Anyway, let's get into comments from today's episode. We're already running over time. It's Friday. I'm completely inappropriate. Tucker, forgive me. I hope you're fine with me sharing that. It literally just came to my head right before we went live, and I was like, this is what bothers me about July. I totally forgot. Erica was anti-Israel in July. Allegedly. Zamet writes, this 4th of July, let's all remember that it's we the people and not we the elites. President Trump, please resign if you have any dignity left. He has no dignity left. There's no point. He's just going to do what he's told to do. He has no courage. Forget the dignity. He's a coward. Ali writes, Tucker recently said TPUSA didn't invite him this year. It adds to the theory that they took out Charlie because he gave Tucker a platform and was abandoning Israel. They had to keep him for AmFest 2025 because Charlie publicly fought his donors over Tucker. Well, there was no question they were going to, push out Tucker, push out Meghan. I don't like I said, it just has no energy behind it anymore. It's just over. The organization died with Tucker. Died with Charlie, pardon me. Sarah writes, TPUSA tactics. Come on, Dan. Although you imagine what he had to do or agree to be able to get back to his podcast. Yeah. It was just weird. Like he's just angry. He's like yapping and like, you're not saying anything of substance. You're not debunking Tucker, and just this tough guy act of like, you think I can't beat up Tucker? Like that is so played out that Tucker's not going to fight you. Like, what are you talking about? He wears boat shoes and goes fishing. He's like a chill guy. You don't look cool doing that. That's so unbelievably lame. Tube writes, they keep saying Charlie and Candace weren't friends. Why then did Erica meet Candace in such a tight schedule? And why did Andrew call Candace the very first day and shared so many things? Make it make sense, TPUSA. They can't. They're just trying to delete Charlie's history, Charlie's perspective, Charlie's friendships. They fought viciously to do it. They couldn't sell it. They had a ton of money to put behind this narrative that Charlie and I didn't talk. The Us Magazine article, Charlie was afraid to talk to Candace. What are you, like, we traveled together for years. He was afraid to talk to me. Me calling, scared to pick up my calls. Literally, Erica's got his phone published. How many times Candace Owens has called Charlie Kirk? I don't do calls. It's just not my thing. It's just, I don't like, it's just the in your ear. You know what I'm talking about? I also don't like AirPods for the same reason. I just feel like it's putting stuff in my brain. So I just don't do calls. I just text. And I never answer my text messages. I'm terrible at that. It's just not, I'm not a phone communicator. It's not my thing. Coach E writes, when TPUSA dropped the trolling video, they introduced it to a room full of women, not us. Therefore, TPUSA was trolling women. Colbett's excuse is just not adding up. Have you heard of the Leah files? Her TPUSA audit is legit. I have not heard of it. And I wish I could have done an audit of some sort, but I try to stay within my skill set. I can organize. That's why I've got so many kids. I could do a timeline. I can't be the person that's behind the accounting. So, yeah, I actually should go look at some of the videos of people who have been doing that. Someone's Feral Gigi writes, Gate Kid activated, knowing the PSYOP is half the battle. Go Max, Christ is king. Totally agree. Christ is king, truth is winning. And they are angry and on the run. I think I read all of them. I think I skipped one. Nope, I didn't. I did not skip one. Lastly, Francesca writes, Francesca writes, you really need to investigate why Charlie's parents are not speaking out. An interview would make sense. I fear they have been forced to stand back. They were always really private, so that didn't strike me as a surprise at all. They were fiercely private. I mean, I only met them a handful of times when they came to a couple of Charlie's events. It's just not the way they operate. I don't find that to be suspicious because it's like my in-laws. Like they're not like, there are people that just aren't wired that way, and they would never want to be in, like they weren't involved in the face of politics despite how big Charlie was, and it wouldn't be their natural thing to do so. That's my opinion. I don't think they were forced to stand back at all. I do wonder what they think about Erica. I'd like to know if they're watching, and maybe I do know that some people in his family do watch and do support. Reach out. I'd love to talk to you and keep it all off record. I promise. Anyway, you guys, if you'd like to support the show, you can head over to more tips at CandaceOwens.com. And, oh no, that's so wrong. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like still jet lag. Why would you guys give me more tips? You're making me look bad. If you'd like to support the show, you can head to CandaceOwens.com. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do book club. I'm just like Russia exhausted. I feel like book club people, please don't kill me. Can I move it to Monday? People in book club, is it okay if I move it to Monday? It's like 7:35. I'm so tired. I have no more words. They're going to have to forgive me. I'm going to have to put them in the Tucker basket. Please forgive me, Tucker. Please forgive me, people in book club, because I'm going to have to bump this Monday. Can we do Monday? Tucker, I mean, you're not Tucker, you're Skylar. There's no way I can do book club. I think Tucker's in the control room. I'm coming apart on this Friday night. Skylar. Okay. Yeah, but I feel like I probably don't know when that's going to end. So I feel like, can we just do like Monday, make Monday a double? I feel like Monday works because I'm like, my brain is fried right now. I'm just having like a personal phone conversation on a podcast live with like 70,000 people watching. This is completely crazy. I need to get off air. If you guys like to support the show, you go to CandaceOwens.com and get some merch. We dropped our 6 million mug. That's what I wanted to mention. We dropped our 6 million. It's pretty. She is pretty. Stop Auntie Candace says, I'm also going to like start a GoFundMe. I want to buy one for Ben because he's very anti-Candace, Ben. I just don't know why he's always attacking me, Ben Shapiro, telling me people that I'm not on vacation when I am. I just want to get him one of these. It just feels fitting. Anyway, it was $20 for a mug. Yeah, it's the easiest way to support the show. All right, you guys, I obviously am going to bed right now. I'm really sorry to the book club. I'm sorry to Tucker Carlson. Tucker, please still be my friend. It was just a memory. I love you, Tucker. I love everything you're doing. Troy said, you're still talking. Go to bed. Rest up. Okay, bye. Troy sent me to bed. I got to go. Troy says bye. I'll see you on Monday.